From the Mongolian plains to the grasslands of medieval Europe, knights and warriors on horseback have excelled for their speed, power, and skill in combat. Cavalry has always been a vital component in battles, often the decisive force determining the fortunes of kingdoms and empires. We will now discover more about the 10 most fabled cavalry troops in history. The Knights Templar were one of the most famous military orders during the Middle Ages. Having been founded in the 12th century to protect Christian pilgrims during the Crusades, not only were they warrior monks devoted to their faith, the Knights Templar also stood out for their crucial role as heavy cavalry. Together with strong armor and trained horses, their fighting discipline made the Templars a somewhat remarkable team on the battlefield. They were the front line in combat, leading devastating charges against enemy armies, particularly in battles against Muslims in the Holy Land. Their shock and awe tactics centered on coordinated and forceful strikes broke up enemy formations, sparking chaos and clearing the way for victory in many campaigns. Their legacy as one of the best cavalry troops remains alive, enshrining military power coupled with religious zeal. Originally from Hungary in the 15th century, the hussars became into among the most skilled and feared, like cavalries in history. Originating from the vast Russia and Ukrainian steppes, the Cossacks grew to be among the most famous cavalry forces in history. Their beginnings are in the 15th century, when they emerged as free and autonomous warriors living on the frontiers of the Russian Empire and the Polish monarchy as nomadic horsemen. The Cossacks dominated the difficult steppe terrain and developed into a formidable force in light cavalry battle. Russian and Ukrainian military historiography highlighted the Cossacks in several wars, including the campaigns against the Ottoman Empire and Napoleon's invasions. Their great difference was their incredible horse riding skills and in-depth knowledge of the terrain on fast and agile horses, which they resorted to guerrilla tactics, conducting surprise attacks, rapid sieges, and strategic withdrawals that baffled and disrupted their enemies. Russian and Ukrainian military historiography highlighted. Created by slave warriors, the mamluk cavalry rose to dominance in Egypt and other areas of the Islamic Empire. They were taught from an early age to be skilled soldiers, and their outstanding combat skills gave them a force to be reckoned with. Riding well-trained horses and adept at utilizing curved swords, spears, and bows, the Mamluks were Egypt's military backbone. Using their mobility to surround and demolish opponent formations, they stood out both in hand-to-hand fighting and in fast maneuvering tactics. The Mamluk cavalry's main triumph was at the 1260 Battle of Ain Jalut, when they gained their first significant victory against the Mongols, preventing their progress into the Middle East. This further raised the Mamluk position as one of the most effective cavalry corps of their time. The Mongol cavalry was one of the toughest and most efficient combat forces in history throughout the 13th and 14th centuries. It formed the mainstay of the Mongol Empire, the greatest contiguous empire the world has ever seen, capturing enormous regions from Asia to Eastern Europe. The Mongol cavalry's extraordinary mobility, tactical organization, and long-distance combat skills were the secret to its success. Riding small, sturdy steppe horses, the Mongol warriors galloped across large distances, giving them the power to undertake surprise attacks and sustain a steady military campaign. The Mongol cavalry was crucial in history. Battles such as the 1223 Battle of the Kalka River and the 1258 Baghdad Assault, when its overwhelming force destroyed much larger and better-equipped armies. Combining stamina, discipline, and inventive tactics made the Mongols the most terrifying cavalry of their time. Under the command of Napoleon Bonaparte, the Napoleonic cavalry comprised one of the most brilliant and impressive fighting forces of the age, having played a decisive role in all of the conflicts that shook Europe between the end of the 18th century and the beginning of the 19th. A blend of speed, discipline, and sheer brute force, these elite troops scored many of the French emperor's most important victories, arranged in different categories including heavy cavalry, mixed cavalry, and light cavalry. The Napoleonic cavalry carried out sweeping attacks, scouting and following retreating adversaries at the legendary 1805 Battle of Austerlitz. It helped bring an overwhelming victory over the Russian and Austrian forces. The Napoleonic cavalry led the way in defining Napoleon's aggressive military culture, establishing itself as one of the most revered and feared cavalry corps in European history. In samurai on horseback were the military aristocracy of feudal Japan, waging wars that altered the country's path for ages. While the samurai are mostly recognized for their swordsmanship, they were in the early stages of their existence, highly trained and disciplined warriors on horseback. Proficient in utilizing the bow and spear, riding fast and robust horses, the samurai were a nimble and devastating force equipped with long bows. They trained Kyujutsu, the art of mounted archery, making it possible for them to hit targets with lethal precision. Their dexterity and firing arrows with incredible precision, even when in motion, rendered them extremely proficient in long-distance combat, especially in rugged terrain like that to be found on the Japanese islands. The samurai cavalry were a blend of honor and skill, frequently pursuing individual duels in combat to prove their bravery and mastery. Headed by Attila in the 5th century, the Hun cavalry was one of the most fearsome and devastating in ancient times. Originating from the Central Asian steppes, they were professionals in horse battle, and their light cavalry was renowned for its quickness, terror tactics, and archery proficiency. Riding small but sturdy steppe horses, the Hun warriors covered enormous distances, extraordinarily swiftly, allowing them to spring surprise attacks and escape before their foes could regroup. Using the compound bow, capable of piercing armor at long range, made them deadly in skirmishes. The Battle of the Catalan Fields in 451 is a clear demonstration of their power, where, despite facing a Roman and Visigoth coalition, the Huns' cavalry almost succeeded in destroying these joint forces. A light cavalry troop that arose at the end of the 18th century, the Polish ulans have become something of a legend for their battlefield bravery and skills. Outfitted with long lances, sabers, and signature uniforms, the ulans were renowned for their speed, smash and grab tactics, and their devastating capacity to throw enemy forces into disarray with speedy charges historically influenced by Eastern and Tatar horsemen. The ulans distinguished themselves in a series of conflicts, such as the Napoleonic Wars, in which the Polish cavalry sided with Napoleon in crucial engagements, such as the 1808 Battle of Somosierra. The ulans mounted an incredibly courageous charge, breaching the Spanish defenses and paving the way for a French victory. The Polish ulans' successes were so remarkable that other nations, like as Austria, Prussia, and even France, took to develop ulans units in their own forces. During the 18th and 19th centuries, the Prussian cavalry evolved into one of the most widely recognized and highly organized cavalry corps in Europe, famed for its severe discipline and inventive tactics. It played a vital part in the Napoleonic Wars. The Prussian cavalry excelled at the 1806 Battle of Jena-Auerstadt, where their prowess at rapid mobility and tactical coordination ultimately led to a decisive victory over the French forces. This encounter not only reinforced the Prussian cavalry's reputation, but also proved the efficiency of the new tactics, which included the use of artillery and backing cavalry charges. Following the Napoleonic Wars, Prussia kept modernizing its cavalry, incorporating new technologies and battle strategies. The centrality of cavalry in Prussian military strategy continued to be vital, even with the rise of modern combat and the expanding use of guns.